just know everything, you see everything, and you take it all in. It's like you can see a piece of dew, there, and pull into it and see the little organisms inside the dew moving around,
Yeah.
and you're just there and all comfortable. And the love, or I describe the light around me, everything is love. Like it's I call the closest thing I can use for words is liquid love.
Hi, and welcome back to the Natalie Rustic podcast. Today's guest is Rodney Rieder, who will be sharing his near-death experience as well as some teachings he brought back from his NDE. Rodney was just working a regular day as a longshoreman until he fell from height at his job site and suffered severe trauma. And today we get to find out about what he saw on the other side. So without further ado, I welcome you, Rodney Rieder.
All right. Well, guys, my name is Rod Rieder. I am currently a death experiencer, or people call it an NDE experiencer. Mine started back almost coming up to 6 years now, July 19th, 2017. Definitely a day of infamy for me. It's where I was working. I was initially working on tugboats for a company, and went to the shore side because I was waiting for another hitch. And they had me working as what's known as a longshoreman position. And we had been loading this barge for about a week. That they're putting these very long, 50 plus ton steel pilings on this barge, and then slowly creating a layer, putting another layer on top with dunnage in between. And this was, I think, Wednesday or Thursday. It was like one of the last days where we loaded in the morning another barge, and then we took care of that one. Then we brought this steel barge back over to get its final one or two layers on top. And unfortunately for this day, that we were down two crewmen. So my job at the time was to rig the crane to this steel piling, and then my job was to skip along as like a human anchor as it swung around to help keep an edge spinning, so that we could bring it around, stabilize it, and then lower it down on the barge. And this was like the fifth layer, and these are 4 foot in diameter, each one. So you can see how it's stacking up. So we're 4+ high now, basically, I think fifth. So it was warm. It was 80 degrees. I put that into play. It was in the afternoon. It was the first one right after lunch. And we rig it up, go through, and all of a sudden my guys are calling me up to come up to the stack to help lower it down, since we're down two bodies. So I'm almost playing double duty here, and so it's quite labor intensive and stuff like this. And so I climb up the ladder, get up on top, lower it down, and I look at my watch, and it's right about 1 o'clock. And I got my 2 feet on the rungs of the top of the ladder, just getting down. And if anyone's been at the end of a table and someone jars the table and you get pushed off that table, well, that's what happened to me. Either a tugboat or barge struck the barge I was on. And so me and the ladder separated vertically, looking down from the stack of steel pilings. And then everything proceeded to slow down. But at the same time, I am going down. So I am reaching, my feet are on the ladder. I remember reaching with my hands to the smooth, round steel piling, trying to get a grip. I can still remember right now the fine rust particles shaking off the steel piling as I'm going down, seeing the particles just off the piling going through, and turn and turn and slowly turn to where I'm now almost basically looking at the ground through the rungs of the steel ladder and going, oh shit.
Oh my God.
And about the 45 is when I got pulled out of my body. So my body didn't, my consciousness did not experience, or I didn't get to experience what happened to my body. My body, my face, And my thing is, what only thing that could project is went into that steel ladder as it struck the floor of the steel barge. So death by severe trauma. I will later come to find out that 3/4 of my face was completely broken. Brain bleed, and we can go into that part here. But so I got pulled out of the 45 into what some people call the void. It's total blackness, no body, just pure consciousness. It's almost like I was an orb, but in the dark. But if I can explain to people, like if you've ever been in the bottom of your covers, or if you've ever been in a camping sleeping bag, where it's just warm and comfortable, you snuggle down below, and you're just complete. You're just happy. I'm all comfortable. That's what it was like during the void. And I can't tell you the amount of time I was there. It was just peace. But again, it wasn't scary to me. There was no fear. There was no nothing. And was just right here, just hanging out. I mean, full 360 view, nothing around, but just there. Hello, darkness, my old friend. I've come to see you again, and here I am.
Can I
And
ask
then,
you real quick? Sorry. Could you elaborate on the 360 view? Was that in the void? And if so,
that's everywhere. When you're there the whole time, wherever I'm going into, I'll say you're just aware of everything around you. You're just a complete knowing. You're not just two eyes in front, but it's just an all-knowing and all-feeling. But you can feel presences. You can feel things around you, or in you all-knowing part. And that's there's a thing of you on the other side, or when you go to these places, that when you leave your body, you're so much more out of this meat suit. I mean, we're crammed into this dense body form. But when you're on the other side, you just feel light and everything else. That's what thing it was. You're just relaxed. All weight of human life and all trauma, the weight of the world was removed from your body over you. And it was just over there. And all of a sudden, a tear of light opened up, like lightning struck aside. And also, how it branches out. Well, that's how, so that light opened up, tear in this darkness, this fabric. And, I felt myself go through. And when it came to the other side, all of a sudden I'm in a tree grove, very dense type tree grove with a gravel path. But again, I'm not nobody. I'm like, if you can imagine, again, I'm like a traveling orb, looking at all 360, going down this tight, weavy path. And again, a lot of times how I associate with these things I'm going to tell you is sort of what's in the future, or you're winding through life, so that there's a lot of symbolism I feel in what I saw and the reason I was there. Now, me being a hang glider pilot, I'm used to being on the sides of mountains. Well, lo and behold, as I work my way through this weedy tree grove, I come out onto a mountain ledge, and I'm literally on the side of a very large, most, unbelievable looking mountain, still in the tree line, but coming out on the outer ledge. So I'm out there at the precipice, if you can say, if I was looking to the future life, and I'm looking out over all things of this beautiful mountain valley. It's Earth-like, but not Earth. I mean, the textures, the colors, the smells, everything life that I'm used to when I'm used to hang glide. I'm up there, sitting up there, and I could smell these the currents coming up to my nose. I had the senses still smell it. It was amazing, just like, wow, this beautiful place. And below to my left, there's three tiers, and to the left of me was the lower tier of this valley, and I'll say there's others all over the place, and some were, say, human form, other people, I don't know what they were, if I can say, but beings. And then as I look directly below me and ahead of me is a second tier, and then the backdrop is the mountains. Behind it is the most beautiful golden rectangle portal. If anyone's seen our show, like the Vikings movie, TV show, they have what's called the something like the Doors or something, of Valhalla, whatever it's called. But it's that there, and I've seen pictures of it, and I've taken pictures of it where it freaked me out because I got chills. I saw this manifested after this event. Seeing that, I'm like, whoa, the gates of Valhalla, or what else? But I'm like, I'm not Viking, but holy cow, this is interesting. And then I look up on the third tier, and it's a jeweled marbled halls. Now, some people talk about seeing, just straight white marbled halls, or again, this looks like the Parthenon over in Greece or Rome or whatever you want to call these things with the big pillars around it. But mine was jeweled. I mean, there's the bringing sparkling stuff, but it's still marble. But there's just jewels over it. It's just like the golden city, a golden portal. And I'm like, okay, so there's that. But around between the um, the golden portal and this building, where there's the most greenest, lush field. You know, I forget what some people call it. There's a certain fields that people relate to, but the greenest, luscious grass. Now, at this time, I'm just to be gliding down towards this field, and to me, it's a simple feeling I'm used to feeling when I use the hang glide. It's just soft, what we call a sled ride. You just slide and go right down. If you have no wind of lift, you're just sliding down, and then I find myself laying amongst this grass. And if you've ever seen the movie Avatar, anyone at the end they're trying to save Grace, one woman who died or body, and you see like the grass attaching to her body, wrapping around, connecting. Well, that's what happened to me. It's everything just collapsed and wrapped around me, and I'm laying there looking through the grass through at looking through and actually seeing the cells move around. I'm seeing the micro life, everything around me. This is the all-knowing part. This is where you people talk about again. You just know everything, you see everything, and you take it all in. It's like you can see a piece of dew, in there, and pull into it and see the little organisms inside the dew moving around. Yeah. And you're just there and all comfortable. And the love, or I describe the light around me, everything is love. Like it's I call the closest thing I can use for words is liquid love. Okay, here's a big, tough, rough guy. Just a few moments ago, I was, pulling down this 50-pound, steel piling and pounding nails, do all this stuff, and here I'm talking now about beautiful liquid love. I mean, it's like wow, it coats you. It's like a cocoon. It wraps you, and it has weight, and you just the intensity of love on this side does not compare to love on that side. You can say you love someone, but there you feel it. It just coats you. You have to give to it, because people say it's like the weight of the world here. Well, on the other side, it's the weight of love that's just wrapped around you. Everything's love and different intensities of it. And so I'm just laying this feeling. Feel like I'm being like recharged. The body was just everything it's been through was just this orb piece where with me was just being held in this love, and just you could feel the energy coming back into your life form. So it was just it's like preparing me for the next phase, almost like a jet, being refueled. But here on this side, getting this love piece. And then I felt like, I shouldn't be here. There's just these feelings coming. Again, I don't know how long I was there. I could have been there for 100 years. I mean, it's total sheer bliss beyond bliss. I mean, there's no words. Again, liquid love. It's just everything is coating you. There's no worries. You're light as a feather. You're in all, but you can feel you're much bigger. You're much more than what we are. And again, this meat suit. And all of a sudden, a silver mist started to come through the grass. And all of a sudden, people you see in this movie stuff, all of a sudden there's like a fog, and all of a sudden something comes out of the mist. Well, that's again out of this silver mist came these 7 light beings, human form, but spindly. If anyone's seen the movie The Knowing by Nicolas Cage, pull it up at the end where there was 4 or 5 of these beings that were human. Also, they transformed into these angelic electrical blue light beings. That's what I had in front of me. They're about 7+ feet tall in my figure. I mean, they surrounded me, and I don't know how long I was with them, what we fully talked about, but it's more of a knowing. There wasn't like, oh, whoa, I mean, like me bowing in front of them. It was almost like a respect, like I'm one of them or with them or what, and that's when we really know who we are in this meet. So once we pass, we could, we all could be different levels of what we go through, and what we're trained at. But I was like right with them, and just going around. All of a sudden, I guess it was time. Next thing you know, I'm being placed into what feels like a straw. This big thing, and also this little straw. Just give me a second here for a sip.
Oh, good.
I get thirsty as I get talking. But then, so I'm in this rainbow straw. People talk about the Rosenstein Bridge or the Rainbow Bridge. Well, to me, that's the Rainbow Vortex. Because if you ever seen the movie from Thor or something else again, Marvel,
Yeah.
you seen where they're in that rainbow thing? I was
Yeah.
in that. That's what I was going in, but I was placed in what would be like sort of to me like feet first because I'm looking up at these beings, but in the hole, and I see them just looking down at me as I'm looking at the tallest one who's dead center, and all of a sudden, I'm being shot down this thing. I am winding. It's a long time. It's not where it's a sharp bump, dump, you're there. No, it's not like I know they got the movies. You're in warp drive and you're shot, but I'm going down and down this thing, but I can still see them. I can still see them looking at me, for a long time, and all of a sudden lost image. And as I'm looking this way, all of a sudden, again, I had that 360, but all of a sudden it felt like I was starting to face out there. This side started to close up. And I'm looking through what be considered to be, again, one eye. And I could feel the pain start to come into the body and the being. Oh my God. Pain is one of the strongest things. I'm one tough dude. I admit that from what I've been through, and I throw stuff, but imagine every tooth in your entire mouth, every single tooth, having the worst tooth pain you've ever had in your life go off and around your face, and just the pain. Oh my God, the agony. I came from sheer bliss. Where am I going? What's going on? This is what I'm thinking in my head. You're thinking a million times a second. Again, you're more than you ever are could be here. All these feelings coming into your body and going, no, 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 as I'm leaving bliss, going down this rainbow vortex, and all of a sudden it happens. You're slid into the body. This is not where you wake up and like, oh yeah, morning. No, this is swoosh into this meat suit. Because again, ourselves, we're way bigger. Our spirit bodies are huge, and we're shoved into this again, this meat suit, meat sack, whatever you want to call it, and the density, the weight. And I still remember it's like slid in there, and it's almost like going back and forth, left and right in my eyes, figuring the stuff. And all of a sudden, I see these other sort of forms hanging around me, and here it's all the guys from work screaming out, "He's alive! He's alive! He's this! He's gotta go! We gotta do something! We gotta do something else!" It's like the next thing you know, I'm being picked up. I was laying on the floor, just right there. Lo and behold, was told by one of the associates there that they had picked me up. It was his worst day of his life that they had picked me up. They had brought my body onto a flat and had a big giant loader bring the flat down, and they put my body on the flat, and it brought me over to the office. And then he was one that carried me in, and again just freaking out that nothing is there. And they never called 911. There was no ambulance.
Wow.
No emergency stuff. But they picked me up dead weight. I was 260 at the time, so I'm not a little guy. But I still remember the screaming pain from this left side here. Oh my goodness, the pain. It was like 11, 12, 14, 15, or whatever on the Richter scale. That hurt.
Yeah.
And I got thrown into a car, and the manager came around and hopped in this little car and then sped me off. And as I was waiting for him to get into the car, I happened to look at my watch with my left eye only because I could feel the blood pouring out of my nose, out of my eye socket right here, going my cheek and my ear. And I look at my watch, it's 1:35.
Wow.
So I had been gone for basically a half hour.
Yeah.
And so people, when they hear about this, going, it's bring like, again, I wasn't in a medical place. I wasn't medically brought back. There was nothing shocking me in my heart. There was nothing to there. I just came back. And that's what freaked them out. And I could tell it is because, again, no 911 was called, no ambulance. They considered me dead.
So you didn't even have
There was
CPR?
nothing there. No CPR, no nothing.
Wow.
Yeah, they discovered me. They found again, it's like boom. So that's the weird thing. I mean, they had all these guys, there were still a few around that had some of the training. There was tugboats just the other side that had the backboards, had all the other stuff, the equipment, the medical emergency stuff that I was trained on being a mariner. None of that was used.
Yeah.
I was just laying there as a body on the floor.
Yeah.
And it was a cool place because, again, outside it's 80s plus some degrees, so that was the coolest place for the body, was inside. And so we're driving to the hospital. I get in the hospital. Um, they didn't drive me up to the emergency room. Oh no, we walked in from the regular parking lot.
Oh
And then
no.
into the emergency room, eventually down there, and they threw the insurance card down on the counter and then said, okay, I'm going back, leaving you. I'm going back to finish the job. And I was left.
Wow.
And so you're at most of it, again, you're in most extreme pain and shock. And all of a sudden you're seeing all these people starting to rush at you and put a collar on your neck and do all the
Mm,
things and cut all my clothes off and do all the scans. And, I had severe brain bleed. No one called my emergency contact. No one called my fiance, um, and with my girls. So um, I had to plead with the nurse, and I had a clamp put up my nose, like talking like this, um, with her that I need to call someone because no one, I don't think they know what happened, and they never were
yeah.
contacted. And so within an hour of her showing up, because she normally doesn't answer the phone, and she would never answer the phone from this area code number, but
Mm,
she did that day, and lo and behold, I said a few key words that she knew was me, and then she showed up an hour later with my daughters and her, and um,
mm,
and they're just figuring out. But then they're loading me up because I was such a bad case that they had to move me to the major hospital of
yeah.
Harborview Medical in Seattle because I was such a bad trauma case. And I was brought over there, and just go into a little bit more and hit me up with some questions here. But the weird thing was the doctors were trying to figure out when I got moved over to the other hospital why I was taking one third the amount of pain medication that I
Mm,
should be taking with the amount of damage and pain that starts to my face. And it's like, how do you describe to them that I was still connected to that love? Or part of me still had that bliss, that connection where it was helping me get through that pain, where the body should not
yeah.
be able to handle that much pain load. I should be blacking out. I should be fainting and gone, trying to, or put into here's for the brain bleed effect I have. Where is that? Where they put you out or you coma? They could have put me into a coma and let me deal with my things, but they kept coming up to and one guy. And I still remember the nurse saying, "You are a badass," and it's just like, okay, you're all this pain you're going through. Thank you, but and this woman, I'll talk my story where came in, her boyfriend or her husband took a baseball bat to her face, and she's screaming, screaming, and I could feel her pain and suffering, and they're trying to quiet her down because they're telling me there's a guy next to her that's 10 times worse. So I'm going, oh great, this
Yeah.
is definitely happening through a full moon phase because we didn't have private rooms. We were put into like an edge of a hallway that had just a little indentation part to put a couple beds, you know.
Yeah.
So this was all going on crazy, and later on they released me. They all the doctors had got enough and saw that I was hard enough that they released me. And then the week later I had the surgery. And again, I have 5 plates of titanium in my face. You won't know now. They made me better looking than I probably was before. But so this whole section here, this is all titanium, the face, and
Yeah.
then on the different parts. They had to go open it up and lift. They had to cut underneath my lip here and through
Yeah.
my eye and put the pieces. So
Mm,
it was so in that, and then I had wire wrapping, and so I severe trauma, and then 6 months later, I find out that I had my left pectoral major had
mm,
been severed. I happened to lay down one evening. I asked them if I could lay down because I've been in a recliner for 6 months, and they said, "Yeah, sure." And as I laid down and talked about that pain earlier, well, this had been part of that ladder edge had severed my pectoral major pec rolls up to my throat. So, I've had damage all the way through. I had broken ribs. I had, other trauma as well. I could still feel, I'm a human barometer. I feel that ladder through my body.
mm.
So it's definitely, you know, parts, but, and then you get back and relax and, you just get used to things and just calm down. And I initially didn't think about the NDE right away when I got home and all this stuff, but it's more of everything started coming back, and you kept, initially there's things kept showing up, and I remember this part, remember this part. I'm like, okay, did I experience something? And then, start watching the NDE. I'm going, wait a second, that's because it's clear as the day. I can still like now see everything. It's never lost that part. So it's always been a consciousness, and my brain through this sort of deal again without that much oxygen and no oxygen, just dead. I shouldn't be functioning, let
What's
alone
also
walking.
fascinating to me, sorry to cut you off,
Oh yeah, go
because
ahead.
you did have trauma to the brain. And so the ability of you being able to remember something as life-changing as that in itself is a miracle.
Right.
And so another question I would have, and I myself believe you definitely had a near-death experience, but I will ask the question because how would you decipher that this wasn't a dream or hallucination as opposed to an actual out-of-body experience?
Details. I mean, just again, the clarity of the details. It's still, I have not lost to this day that
Hmm.
feeling, that connection, that touch.
Yeah.
I is the clarity. It's again, it's not like dreams. You remember a little bit, but then they're gone. They're just not there. For almost 6 years now, I recount this story time and time again, almost verbatim. I don't lose these things. I don't lose these focuses. It's there. I
Yeah.
mean, just the intensity. And the scary thing is, after this event over the last several years, all these things that I've been seeing on that side, I saw in real life here, or have I experienced
No.
in my reading of all my books, or I known as the I am discourses. It freaks me out even more. Is I was put into contact when I first did my first original NDE cast on YouTube, and I
Mm.
had a woman contact me, and she had listened to my story, and she told me about finding about these readings about the I am, which is in dealing with Saint Germain and crystals and stuff like this. And I freaked out because as I started going through the stuff that was written back in the 1930s,
Wow.
and it's in these books of what I saw. It's like, what's in here? How did this author, how did they explain these things that I saw are in these books, in this knowledge, esoteric knowledge? And I saw that in my NDE. It's just like, holy crap.
Would you
You
be
know,
able to share with us some of the things that you learnt about during your near-death experience?
it's more of, how would I say, it's attachments things. Like I have a lot of the basic things that a lot of Indians have, where again, can't wear watches. We are go through what we experience now. It's more of what we affect, what our cravings for is. My craving is about energy, about use of power, soul, attachment, things that I'm drawn to or get pushed. I describe it, and several other engineers have described it in the past. If you took two opposing magnets,
Mm.
pull inside, and you push them together, you get that weird rubbery, squishy feeling.
Mm.
That's how I get a feeling. When I get directed to something, I get pushed
Yeah.
through that feeling to it. It's like, for example, within a couple weeks of the accident, my operation to my face, I started watching some YouTube videos on TV. Just again, can't do anything. You're watching this stuff, but you're getting this draw on this, and I got to watch this something. And I had worked with some crystals in the past, but not to the degree that I would later become a crystal daddy. All these things around me. And I happened to show this show on Organites.
Is that
And
those pyramids for the viewers who
well,
may
some
not know what they are?
people start doing pyramids if they make them, yes. But no, that's not me. No, no, not at all. I have to start out making skulls and dragons and frogs. And then I ended up making pyramids. So, and
Yeah.
I started gifting these things to people. I had to give. I had to give them to other people. But these were like energy. I had to give myself and charge the energy into these things. And there was a lot of healing things that happened to these other people. I call them owners, or and there's another term I give to people for what I call their keepers. And it's
Mm.
almost like I was creating a grid of energy that I was giving to them. I've had one girl, for example, who had severe trauma where if she anxiety, she'll faint. She has to have one of these dogs that lets people know that if she's getting close to fainting, make noise and do things. A service type dog.
Yeah.
However, I made her a beautiful raven and out of one of these organites. And I would sort of like be like a crystal pharmacist where I could look at person and person describes what's going through them, and I could see literally what they needed in that piece.
Wow.
And going through like shungite. Okay, no, maybe they need some fluoride. Do they need a piece of amethyst? They need some tourmaline. It's different pieces that I could see what they needed, put them in these pieces, and then they give to him. But she no longer she could get rid of the dog. She hasn't had an episode since
Yeah.
having this piece. But what happened was though, and I'll describe this at the same time as I was using my energy, my life force, putting
Mm.
into these pieces. And I was starting to drain myself over time, where the last few ones that I made, I literally would every time would develop severe nosebleeds
Oh, you
come out.
would?
And I just, nosebleeds were just pouring out. The blood would just pour in my nose. I was like shaking where it's like, okay, I can't do this anymore. But I was giving my last bit of my life to these pieces.
Yeah.
And so I had to stop. And so, so it's a double-edged sword with us because yes, we tend to affect energy, will affect lights, electronics, TVs, and stuff will shut off, work through. Just weird things happen.
Mm.
And again, I can't wear watches. I'll drain my battery of my phone. My phone's the third time charging today. And when
Yeah.
if I get excited about doing things, it's weird how we can go up and we'll either suck the energy out or we'll give it energy.
And what time
Um,
is it where you are now?
my time is 6 o'clock.
So 6 o'clock, and you've had to charge your battery 3 times already. Yeah,
Yeah.
wow.
So it's where, you know, how we do these things. It's just you can feel charges in the air, and it's a lot of knowings. Like again, a lot of things happen where I know precognizance ahead of times. A lot of visual stuff will flash in my head ahead of me, know or see things.
Yeah.
So we do that part, and then, um, man, I've talked to me. I think only one other show about this, but I remember there was another drawing. Watching these shows, and I'm like energy, but I started having a connection to not with like just the pyramids, but certain places around the earth.
Mm.
And also, I'll throw this out again with these light beings around me, say ETs or Pleiadians, whoever people talk to them. I just
Yeah.
had this weird feeling, and I got that push pull place. And I happened to find out there was a place called ECETI Ranch that's located here, actually in Washington. And our area is known for that's how the word flying saucers came about. But I live within an hour drive from Mount Rainier, and I
Mm.
within an hour I can be up on the side of Mount Rainier, up in Paradise and these places, and this is where those saucers came through. But I got called to this ECETI Ranch, which is what's called by Mount Adams, which is to the south of Mount Rainier.
Yeah.
And it's like, so got down there, and this place has an energy vortex, I would say, in the area.
Mm.
A lot of people who are very sensitive energies uh, get drawn to there, and I wasn't necessarily there for the ETs part initially, but it was just more the energies
Yeah.
and to help heal the body and the physical healing besides the other part. Just had to go there, and I could when I was again like getting pushed, like I had to go there. Every time I got closer, it was just I kept getting that feeling stronger and stronger and stronger. And we got there, and this beautiful white caps, glacier mountain up on top, gorgeous piece. It's about 13 miles away from this ranch, but where this vortex sort of is at, there's a little field out in front, and they do night gazing at night for the UFO stuff. So first, I get out there, and just I started having animals coming. I had mule deer start coming around me, just walking up to me as I'm
Wow.
there sitting down in my chair, at my campsite. And I'm like, the animal connections and things start happening. I'm like, okay. And, they talk about little fairies over there and stuff and seeing, and yes, I've seen a fairy, so
Wow.
again, stuff. But as I'm getting to this place, now it gets nighttime and we start viewing, and it's called Skywatch, and they're looking for UFOs coming around. And the owner of this ranch, he is a two-time near-death experiencer. His name is James Gilliland, and he was pointing these things out. And the mountain at times also has these unique lights that form on the mountain. And they've done all the things where they've got thermal, they have night vision, they have all this stuff where they're trying to see those are hikers. And this happens year round, that these lights form on the mountain, these types of energies.
Sorry about that.
No problem. But so now when I've in the daytime they're there too, I should take a step back. They say that there's UFOs are around. These things are around us all the time out there. And I had this woman who just showed up out of nowhere, old woman, literally show up to the right of me, and she said, "You need to go within. You need to go within." And I'm like, "Okay." And my heart, what? Go within your heart, talk to them, say you like to see them. I'm like, "Okay." And I just started taking shots with my phone. And then, well, yes, I got pictures of one right, not too far away from the trees ahead of me. And you can see like the white aura power thing from down below. So it wasn't a bird. And like this, but all of a sudden she's gone. I looked around the whole field. I'm like, where'd she go? She's gone. Now that night, we're doing the same thing. We're night viewing, we're waiting for these ETs go through, and I'll describe it this time where I'm just started. I felt a presence. I knew something was around me. Again, it's one of those things in the years we have, we could feel a presence. We know something's around us. So I just started taking pictures in the dark. I'm in front of everyone, so it's not anything. I'm just taking flashes. And before all of a sudden, there's nothing in the flash. And the next shot, there's a thin mist rainbow. And then the rainbow brighter. And all of a sudden, right next to me is this pink plasma field all around me. And there's orbs coming out of the pink plasma. And then I've got a shot of the whole plasma field where there's just orbs everywhere around me, just launching off in the field. And at the same time, I come to find out, like, me and James were very much tied together because we were pointing out where these at night where people use lasers or flashlights and stuff to tell people know where these UFOs are coming across the field or up in the sky. And I was calling out with him, with James, where we just knew where they were automatically, or where they're coming out of. And I've developed relationship with friends there since. Like, how do you know these things? How do you know when they come? It's like weird connection.
Yeah.
But same thing that he has. He had that weird connection, as well as other people I've come in contact with have talked about this when we were at this place. We've also showed up years later at this ranch. I've gone through now 7 times. I've run across several of the same people. We never talked. We never communicated. They were showing up here, and we showed up at different times, and we were all there again. Like, it's like a soul family getting called to this place.
Yeah.
So weird things like that happen. So, that's another thing I can talk about ETs, and just, we're so much more than what we are now.
Do you think that it's possible that the light beings that you saw during your NDE may possibly be those ETs that come to visit you, and that's why you have a call to visit?
And that's one thing I'm still trying to put together. Some people, again, a lot of people who have seen these beings. They're known as the ancient ones, the blue ray beings. These are, ancient types from the first original things they call from the great central sun. I mean, they came out. And some of them talk about later the serene or Palladians, were, they like this because they're the blue beings.
Yeah.
These were the bluish whitish light. I mean, so when you're looking, you see that pure blue light that's just super bright, but there's a strong blue to it, but it's also whitish. That's what it was with these guys,
Yeah.
And they're tall and through. So it's, to me, when I've gone into like these I am teachings, it's almost there like beyond a set of masters to more like the Elohim, if I say that right.
Elohim.
So they're like the 7 builders, creators types, and that's why when I was showing them, I wasn't. My story is very similar to another guy. I'm trying to think of his name again. I lose my mind. He looks sort of like me. Vinny, I think his name is.
Vinny Todd Tolman.
Yep, yeah.
I've interviewed him. Yeah.
Yeah, because he's like he was dead like for 45 minutes.
Yeah.
And that's going to these different layers. I sort of went directly to the high one above, right away. I didn't have the guide taking this place. It's almost like and I'm not trying to tell anything here like ego or anything. It's like I'm different, or my calling is different. I'm something else.
I do believe that a lot of near-death experiences come back with a mission or a purpose, and that they've completely changed their life. So I don't doubt that for a second with you. Yeah.
And so it's, you come back here, and like I tell people when I come out of this, it's been one heck of a ride. I mean, as you know, depression level somewhat. You come out, you're used to doing everything you used to do, and then
Mm.
instantly it changes overnight. Where, I'm no longer flying with the eagles. I am, in my hang glider. I'm not out chasing, going disappearing in the woods like I used to. Out here. I'm gonna be cougar bait. I don't have my left arm. I finally gained after 2 years and great help. I can move my arm around, no problem. But I still, unfortunately, due to this brain bleed, I believe what is, I can't lift a gallon of milk past my belly button.
Wow.
So anything like 6 or 7 pounds, American weight, can't lift with my
Mm.
left arm. So there's a lot of things I haven't been able to restrict to do. But through this, just like going to this East City Ranch and all these other places, it's where I've experienced stuff. And I know in Australia, there's actually a guy, trying to think of his name, and I'll later let you know. I come across it is who also operates an East City Ranch out there in Australia. So
Yeah.
like, they talk about these similar things that they've seen and experienced around, and it's super deal. But I didn't ask for this. I didn't. That's everything in my life has changed. I mean, I've had to break down to a simple life, and everyone's been locked up for COVID for a couple of years. Well, I've been locked up for about 6 years in reality.
Yeah.
I haven't got to do the things I've got to do, I've been in the couch after 4 major surgeries, putting myself together, learn to walk, speech therapy. You know, People ask, well, I would love to have an NDE. And we say it's an amazing experience. It helps us so much more. And that's my job, is to tell people what I see. But I don't
Mm.
say you would enjoy the physical traumas that I'm going through. I mean, I even developed diabetes after this. But even still, to this day, all these synchronicities have happened that have led me from
Yeah.
one thing to another, from finding my attorney, which was very hard because it's a very specialized type of law that dealing with this maritime law. And lo and behold, that came out of one of my fiance's relative, how this connection worked. I got my attorney, my physical therapy place after this. Lo and behold, they're my relatives from Germany
Mm.
who own these buildings. I'm like, it's almost these signs are showing me, hey, you're taken care of. Hey, you are being divinely guided. You are divinely being directed to where I need to go to get.
Yeah.
So, through my pain gives my healing back to other people, saying, here's what I've experienced. Know this, we are connected. I mean, I can go into a story where I got that push pull feeling. I had to go deal with worms. I mean, I got into more of taking care of special high end trees and ornamental type trees. Just gives me something to do. And I learned all the stuff from on YouTube. So it's all this knowledge I want to play with. But I got this push and pull to go to find about these composting worms, and I found a worm farm near one of the old little towns I used to live in. So I drove out there in the countryside and found this place, and I got in there. It was just this weird, unique feeling, and I got in there, and I'm talking to this one guy. So my pretty handsome as I do, and going through there, and they're talking, and all of a sudden he looked right at me. You die. He walks around the counter, comes up to me, puts his hand on my shoulder with the paper, said, "You're still connected."
Wow.
And I'm going, "What the heck?" Like this, because you're taking this, but at the same time, yes, there's a knowing of this and right, but lo and behold, I then, like I told you about these IM discourses and books, and I was going through it, and there's a couple pictures in some of these ones, and it's the etherical picture of beloved Saint Germain. Was the
Yeah.
guy who I contacted and who came up to me and put his hand on my shoulder. I am
Wow.
then freaking out, back chills are going through me, like freaking out. I'm basically bawling, crying at the same time because I've been having these things about Saint Germain of the lavender, the purple, working with amethyst, several things that have affected me, and just lo and behold, and again going in these teachings, and here I am freaking out because again, here's something that I experienced in my death experience,
Yeah.
and now it's being touched at firsthand. So
If you don't mind, I wanted to bring you back right to the beginning where time slowed down. Could we elaborate on that? What that was like? And were you out of your body at that time, or were you still in your body when time slowed
I was
down?
still in there. It's you're again. It's again that the almost the oneness starts coming into you at this moment where you all of a sudden lose hearing. It's where you're ever here where your ears go quiet, where you get hearing your pressure in your ear and things just go still. You feel that pressure, but it's where all of a sudden everything is so detailed. The light, you can see like the particles of the ray of light coming in to the picture. I'm seeing like you've seen. I'm sure you've seen it on TV where they show you the particles of dirt or flecking off of stuff. That's what
Yeah.
I was holding on to, trying to grab onto those steel pilings, and I'm feeling the flakes of rust coming off and seeing those particles dancing in that sunlight coming down at the same time. And that's how everything slows up. But you're almost artistic that you absorb everything. You
Yeah.
all in slow motion. This piece almost. Have you ever seen the movie Twilight?
Yeah, I was thinking of that
Okay.
when she'd
You
finally
think that
turned and zoomed
she's seeing
in.
spiders and she's seeing all these things, but
Yeah,
she's
yeah.
everything. That's what it's like. It's just you're taking it, everything is all in at once, but you're seeing it all. But
Yeah.
it's where a lot of people said that it was either an ascended being or whatever else removed me from my body so I would not experience the pain that I was going to go through. I was saved that of having to experience myself literally going splot and
Wow.
pulled out of the body, having but I didn't have the out of body effect where I hovered around the body. I
Mm.
was instantly, you
Into the
know,
void. Yeah.
right off the bat.
And when you were in the void, was that like, okay, let me get my bearings. So it's dark, right? It's a dark space. Did it ever
Yep.
feel scary to you? Was it safe? No?
No, it felt safe. Like, again, just felt like I was back like an old Boy Scouts. Felt like I was in the bottom of my sleeping bag, all curled up in a ball, just all comfortable and warm. And it might be a little cool outside, but inside there, I was just like a warm, wrapped up cocoon. And I was just in peace. Again, I've been working hard and I was sweaty, I was hot, that day, and all these things. My body, you're still feeling pain. I was 43 or whatever at the time, and just feeling the normal work pains, and all of a sudden to be relieved of everything of no pain, no nothing. Just again, you're light, you're comfortable. But and it talks about that from these teachings and other people teachings where there's other places or other dimensions where you are just a ball or happy orb. Some places are like, especially like in the Buddhist cultures and stuff like that, where they're just these different realms where they're just happy to be in this little ball. It's where some of us are called to work and serve others in parts, and that's where I think still while I was here is, yeah, it's not my time, or I was meant here for other things, and my whole life has not been easy. I mean, I was born premature, 2 months early. I was 4 pounds 5 ounces. I've had jaundice. I mean, I was in an incubator for 2 months just trying to survive when I was first
Mm.
came here. I'm a type that I've had experiences. I mean, I used to be a professional fly fishing guide in Alaska. I've faced down brown bears. I mean, from me to a few feet away. My job, I've put myself in front of bears in front of clients.
Mm.
I've pushed and shoved uh, the boat out with full crew inside, throwing a 30-pound pyramid anchor because I've got a charging moose coming at me, and I am pushing with full power, adrenaline rush of pushing that boat out into the water as a cow moose is trying to club me because she just gave birth to a calf that I didn't realize. So I've had all the experience of them, flying with, in the planes, in hang glider. I've flown with eagles. I've had things when I was a kid. I was beat, in some way abused, and I was the kid that was great with everyone, but at the same time, I was pushed away from everyone. And so I
Yeah.
would always go. We had a family farm, and my thing, I'd go out to the farm and I'd go to that highest hill, and I would call to God, say, God, make me an eagle, make me fly away. And He truly has made me an eagle. I mean, from Eagle Scout to getting to fly, being have my own private pilot license, to also flying with hang gliders. I mean, even meeting with General Chuck Yeager, who was the guy who broke the sound barrier originally, my favorite legend. I
Wow.
guided him like in Alaska. So again, all these events and things have happened. I've been blessed with. I've had an amazing life. So don't get me wrong that I've done amazing things in a short period of time or in the 40 some years before this accident. So I've experienced life and death and seen things and been places where I had weird experiences. Again, I've had an experience with the hang glider where a thunderstorm developed at a big, large fly-off event, and there was 6 of us were on one side of this mountain, and little did we know that this cloud moved in and overdeveloped into a thunderstorm, hail, lightning into the landing zone, and so a couple of guys' souls went down into that hail and stuff and landed, but had bloodied faces, and it felt like the storm was after me because I'm flying and we're flying across this large reservoir where this mountain is at of water, and I'm flying over this lake and I'm being cloud sucked up where I'm almost into a dive position with my knees on the bar and I am still going up. I'm going up like this, up, 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 up. And it's like it's after me. I have lightning all around me. The thunder, it's like you have shock waves coming through and you're healing this. And I am holding on to aircraft aluminum. So
Yeah, wow.
I should be getting shocked here anytime. And I've had this again, these experiences where I'm calling to God, saying, save me, save me. I'm doing all my, being an old Catholic at the time, all my Our Fathers, Hail Marys, and throwing everything out that I could say. And I have a parachute on my chest, and I'm hooked to this glider. But the problem is I'm getting sucked up now almost into the cloud layers. And if I go up any further, I could be taken up and be covered in ice and become just a solid form of ice falling down over this lake. Or I cut this cord off and I fall and release from the glider and I still may get sucked up. But if I land, I'm probably going to drown. And so I'm just thinking all these things are happening once. And all of a sudden, it's just like God came in and this presence came over that almost like the ears went away. Again, that there was a silence. It was just like a knowing. And, we just all of a sudden fight the battle and got out of the lift band. I mean, the lift was gone for something. I should have still been sucked up, but for some reason I wasn't, and I was allowed to fly out of this lift, come down around the storm. I couldn't land at the normal landing zone. I was starting to get into the downdrafts were getting into me, and I landed in this gigantic tree stumps. And the trees that we have out here, these are 200-300 foot size trees and big stumps. And I landed at my 2 feet. And as people came around to rescue me and help me, the storm had moved on into the mountains, and it was like a black screen. But in front of that black screen was the most beautiful double rainbow you've ever seen. Like it was like a sign from God saying, "You called." And shortly thereafter, my life exploded, professionally and what I was working on, and all these other events that led up to this and beyond, where my dream job became unfortunately a nightmare, a couple things. So I left and went back to maritime, and then this happened. But everything's left here for a reason, and that's why I still am here now. Talk to him, going, this as much as this is, I know I'm here for a reason. I'm not here for just a season. And I'm talking just to you now. There's a reason why we connected. There's a reason why all these times I've done these other podcasts, I reached out to certain people who needed to hear this from me. I'm to say, hey, keep pushing forward. We, right now there's some amazing things we're seeing in the world. We're seeing a lot of the darkness, but at the same time, it's an exposure that's always been here, and we are just seeing more light, or our bodies carry more light. The doctors have analyzed some of the stuff on us too, and we describe to people that, yeah, we have higher sugar count, we have our things, but at the same time, we're able to handle that with the energy difference that other people can't handle. I'm able to. They talk about where, this average person, their normal range of their heart has a 6-foot area of energy from their heart. And lo and behold, when you look at all this COVID stuff, you go wonder why they have a distancing of 6 foot or more. It's because they don't get together. So if you think about the energies that we talk about stuff, and to us who affect these other areas, I mean, people know when I come into a room, and I've been told you change a room when you come in. I know my heart space, my heart energy is, way out there. People stare at us a lot. I mean, I constantly just get stared at. People look at me like you glow or you're bright. I mean, they're like, huh? And it's like you've got light around you, and I'm trying to, again, stay humble, and you just go, okay, on this part, and you read more about that, or other people talk about it, and we just try to remain humble. And they say they all want this. I just say we're all called for different reasons. We're all equal in a way. None of us I'm not greater than you or anything else. We all have our calling, what we're for. I unfortunately have to transmute this pain into love. And that's
Yeah.
how I see it on.
Do you know one thing that I find quite interesting? I've only interviewed, I think, 50 people on my channel so far. But what I'm noticing is that you and two others, have you heard of Sharon Milliman and John J. Davies?
I know I've heard of the Davies, John Day Davies. I've heard not the first one, but the second one I've heard.
So Sharon Milliman, like you, saw the golden was it a temple or
I go call it Jewel Marbled
and
Halls.
the jewels, she also saw jewels and marble. John J. Davies also saw Roman like structures as well as Sharon Milliman, too. So there's now three of you who I've interviewed who've all seen similar things and described them the same way. Do you know why that might be?
Because
Do
it's
you
true.
think that it's possible that the three of you have a soul contract, even?
We may, I mean, if you're, I mean, just, you gotta look at it this way. I mean, you have association with me, and I have now, through you, association to those others too.
Yeah.
So the reason, again, my job before I was working with Cabela's, my job developed into finding certain things. My job was to find the hidden golden nuggets and the hidden pieces and track the stuff. I always had a memory for tracking um,
Mm.
things and repetition and stuff like this. And through this experience over, it's allowed me, because I don't have to concentrate all the time at work.
Mm.
I've been very blessed and I've been divinely cared for, that I've been able to use this time to track certain things and come across the certain people. And we see, and again, you see the similarities, and that's part of the reason why I can
Synchronicities.
do this is it allows me to network, to plug into some other connections that you may have connections to other people. And when you hear from me, now you can respond like you just told me, these are two people. Okay,
Mm.
I know the one. It's like, boom, there's a connection. Just like those people that I have with a connection at East City Ranch. When we show up on odd dates of different years afterwards, and we run into the same people, we're called to know. And some of my I am um, teachings, not just from the I am discourses, but there's other individuals who have been contacted or so on through the I am with Saint Germain, and they also go into the Palladians and the other parts beyond what's in these other teachings, and it
Mm.
freaked me out even more because I've seen stuff they've seen. Now, here's an example. So just a few 5 months ago, I had this feeling I had to go. It's been 13 years since I went to the place where I hang glided at, where I
Mm.
had that experience with the storm. Now, at the same time, I'm reading this other individual stuff with the I am, and where he's being guided by Saint Germain to just go on the road. I go down to this place. I get going there. I look. I see, a bald eagle, and I get called to come to this little town called Morton. It's a little logging town and everything else, and it's got these unique areas. But again, now remember those rainbows. Well, in this book, he's in talking about going out to the same town of Morton, home that night after going out there, and I started reading his story about going out to Morton, traveling up from Mount Shasta area of California, and he ran across these people who are big into yurts, which I love yurts. And in front of all their yurt community, they have these rainbows. So all these little connection pieces are going, why? And it's like on that day that I went down there without knowing this, I then come home and start reading his chapter in his book, and where he had gone to the morning that day or in that reading. I'm like, how is this possible? How are those connections happening? But they do, and
Yeah.
that's what you start tracking these details, and you start showing your path of this is where I may need to go again, or at least go this other. I'm being called to another little town before there. It's called Mineral, and it's just be over the mountains around it. There's the big Mount Rainier, which is not too far away. There's something calling me. I don't know what, but it's just where I've gained these pulsations that constantly go out there. Like this may be a future residence or whatever, but it's where you have to go. And again, it's that
Yeah.
push pull. I've learned not to. If I get that push pull, I have to commit. I can't resist it. The knowing slash things where you start seeing flashes, like a screen in your face, you see things and stuff. It's like you got to go. This is where you got to do it. I'm like, okay. Whereas you see something and you see it 3, 4 times within a day, it's like, okay, yes, I get the picture. Thank you. let's go.
Oh, so do you
And
believe that you're in a way psychic because your guides are sort of sending you visions of things and
guys,
places that you need to
my
go?
higher mental body, my I am presence is telling me it's to go. And
Yeah.
the Ascended Masters were letting me know, because I still, again, big thing with the Ascended Masters is
Mm.
what I'm more into. Is you get into these readings, it talks about the shiny ones and all these things have. It's just weird, this connections into these pieces. And again,
Yeah.
this is stuff I've read from the 1930s to near times and our thing, and people who have also, there's several NDErs who have also found these same teachings of the I
Yeah.
and presence, which to me is, again, it's our individual God presence, because everyone keeps saying go within, just like that little old lady was weird
Yeah.
thing that was right next to me there. That place was go within. You go there. Well, most people don't go into what? Most people say your heart. Well, how do you go into your heart? Well, if you understand the I am teachings, it talks about where we each carry our I am presence. When you see pictures of people and their heart center is glowing bright, there's a glowing heart. There's an energy source here. There's an energy source that comes out of our forehead. There's also one through our throat. These are the main three contacts of energy.
Mm.
And the I am our I am presence, which is above us, connects, sends its energy down through, and it's connected to our heart. Because when people say, "Who am I?" A lot of people, they'll point right to the spot. They'll point right here, and that's where your I am connects to that. And then you have your throat chakra, which has your energy as well. But if you ever hear the seven evil hymns, it'll come out of your point of your third eye from your pineal gland, will
Mm.
come into there, and that's like in these teachings and stuff where you go into the um, all the stuff in the Eastern teachings stuff too. How does these religions slash Vedic or ancient knowledge all center on the same stuff? These teachings, there's a reason for it. We're all connected. We're all one. We're all this part, and that's one thing you learn is we're all connected here. Whatever I do, if I affect another person, and that's what you really learn after this is I can't lie. I
Mm.
I feel scared to death if I am put in a position where I have to try and lie. I think, no, I can't. If you understand the words I am, anything you use after that, you become, and it's a very powerful thing because it's where you people talk about, again, it's you adding the Godhead or the God power to that speech, and it's a very double-edged sword. You have to use it in a positive use only, because whatever you send out when you say I am, you add the God attention to it, and that multiplies the energy that you give life to with your life force, and you send out. And
Okay,
so,
so
but
I'm sorry to interrupt, but I feel like this is really important to bring up. So, a lot of us, we get up in the morning, we drink the same cup of coffee, we take the same drive to work, or you take the kids to school, you go do shopping, you're still thinking the same things, but a lot of times we're in this routine, right? And it's constant, it's repetitive. We wake up and we go, oh, my back hurts, or oh, I'm feeling really crappy today, or you know what I mean? Is, do you believe that if we sort of change those thought patterns, that it will change the way our lives progress for the better?
well, exactly, because again, remember what I was explaining about what was happening to me when I was making those organites, and that I was starting to develop the nosebleeds.
Hmm.
You get to a point where you've had a lot of success in your life. A lot of people, I can tell you, you've had cycles in your life where things were down, but then you went back up, and every time you get going a little higher. But all of a sudden, there's a point in your life where you feel totally stuck, that nothing's happening. I used to have it where things would happen for me, and it
Hmm.
doesn't. It's
Hmm.
because you used up that life force, and you haven't found out how to charge it back in.
Yeah.
And so you're getting drained. This is when people start going into drugs or alcohol or other things. And I used to be a 2 pack a day smoker, and I
Hmm.
quit the moment I started
Yeah.
getting into these teachings and stuff. It's just weird things they call like the radiation that comes off of the masters. I've had, and give you an weird example when I talk about these masters. My job, again, I was very good at what I did in developing sales and assortments for this company I was working for. It was a big outfitting store
Hmm.
slash company. It used to be a lot of direct mail order, but then started doing retail stores, huge, multi-billion-dollar year company. And
Hmm.
I became known in doing the right things. And so I went from basic outfitter to sales manager to senior manager. And they had sent out when I was just became a senior manager, and we were getting ready to build this new store, open the store. I had I was left alone at the office, at this makeshift temporary office, while everyone else was being sent out to different stores to train. I'd been in with the company a while, so they, they just do what you do, Rod. So, okay, so what do I do? Well, all of a sudden it's that epiphany, that knowing that pressure came in, the light, and all of a sudden I started seeing flashes again, and I just this knowing, okay, I have to get everything organized. I have to front load certain amount of certain product into the store at this time. I mean, everything had to happen perfectly, and
Mm.
I was given in code, like, I mean, I could see numbers, I could see quantities, inventory, certain things. Lo and behold, we everything happened. I had 9 pallets of what's called trolling, these electric trolling motors that you put on a boat, and I
Mm.
had ordered 9 pallets of them. And I had before, when we first opened one of these stores, um, there's a corporate crew that run the store, run everything, and then they hand it off to the store managers. Well, they're bitching because I had ordered these 9 pallets of trolling motors and they're all over the place, for example. Well, we had the largest grand opening in company history, over $1 million+ in one day. I went through those 9 pallets of trolling motors in less than a week, and through all these things that happening, and because of this, I was called to set up the store up in Anchorage, Alaska. I had other things where I was called by the third. I was working for the third man of the company. All those quantities and all those things I requested on, they're all called my masters. I
Yeah.
mean,
So
how
you
did
were
I get that?
called to do
Oh,
it.
my masters. That's what I got. They use it. These are Rod's masters, and now I put this together. Okay, a set of masters. I'm like, holy cow! And I started getting the chills down my back. Like, holy crap! I had been being affected, and I've been brought through all these things all this time. And this, so that again, looking back at what happened to me for the NDE, this had to happen. I was the one that would survive. I was the
Yeah.
one that was built big enough and had the bone density and everything else to survive this, where someone else would have died. I was dead. I was gone there. I was gone for a half hour, but and with no medical resuscitation, magically brought back.
During that
It,
time that you had passed away, you were gone for 30 minutes and no one was called. Did anybody see you die? Were you seen? When were you found?
they found me. I don't know. They probably found me 5 to 8 minutes afterward because they were going. They lowered it one down. They got everything off, and now it was coming back over to load up another one. So they had to start looking for me. Where's Rod? Where did he disappear? What's going off to? And that's probably when they went to the edge and went, "Holy crap!" And
Yeah.
then they had to rush down there and go through because there was guys that had come off the tugboats even that I saw in front of me when I came back. So it's just, you look at that part going, holy crap. But, and that was my thing, is I was trained, in the position I was at, all this stuff for medical treatment, how you treat an emergency at sea. I'm attached to the land. I was on a tugboat that was attached to the land, but it's maritime law, and they can
Mm.
get away with a lot of things that you can't get into our stuff. And what they did, as much as I was all wrong, they it's maritime law. They were able to get away with a lot of stuff, but they have to cover me, unfortunately, and that's what's been going on. I've been blessed even through the 6 years where, yes, it's not what I used to make, but it's something that at least covers my bills enough to live.
Mm.
The house, and not much. And thank goodness my wife had to pick up extra work just to cover things. But and as hard as it is for me to to look at my daughters and say I wanted to provide more, in your heart, as much as I've been through, that I'm still being cared for, and something else going to come out of this even greater. And that's just a knowing or a trusting. Just like when I got out of that thunderstorm, it was a knowing when I was holding on to dear life to that glider and going down, and I could see my landing zone. I'm being, shook up and down, left and right, where I should have been killed that day as well.
Mm.
That I was knowing that after that double rainbow, that I was looked after. I was turned through. Even the place that I have now, I was on the ocean on a tugboat, and I got the call from my fiance saying we are losing our apartment place. They want an additional $600 a month for rent. They're raising the rates, and I'm like, we can't, afford
Mm.
the time and stuff. And so we happened to find and I remember turning instantly to God, saying, I need help. I need this, because where else can you do? I'm helpless out in the sea in 20-foot waves, being bounced back and forth, going, please, God, help me through this. Help me get through this. And I still had to wait another week and a half before I got off that boat. But lo and behold, we got this place, and this we for a month. We've got a beautiful green belt behind us. I have a place for all some of my trees that I just started getting into used to working with. Having these I had like a knowing I had to get these gardens set up. So I was pushing. I come home, work all these long hours out there in that hot, um, area to come back home to get stuff prepared. And lo and behold, too, that they haven't raised rent in 6 years.
That's
That we had full
incredible.
thing. So it's like all these things have happened and lined up for me for this situation. So again, it's just one of our partners, and I tell it to your viewers saying, as much as you got is you turn to God, and when you give your power to your, again, I call it to my mighty I am presence, or you in your way you give to God, if you give to them, to Him, or what else, things will come off. You don't have to worry. And the more you
Yeah.
put your focus to that, things are less and less. I again, with my vehicle doesn't. But guess what? I was supposed to be waiting like a week and a half to get in. The next day, he said, "No, just come in and bring it on Monday. I'll have a free. I'll take care of you." Things just start to happen. I tell them, but if you put again your energies to this, or you put to God, things will start opening up in your life where all of a sudden you might get a wage increase. You might get something else where you'll get called to work more at home or do something else on a different position that will give you more time to do things. Things will happen, but you have to put again, we are creators. Whatever you put your
Yeah.
attention upon, you become. Just like again, the energies of you doing this podcast. Things
Mm.
of what you're doing and connecting these people, you're affecting multiple things at once.
If you'd
But
like,
again,
I could also give you an example because I
yeah,
haven't had an NDE myself, but I've been doing these podcasts. And when I'm not doing these podcasts, I'm reaching out to people, I'm communicating with these people, I'm talking to psychics, mediums, people who've had these experiences. And I've noticed that I'm focusing and thinking about it a lot because this is where my joy comes from, is doing this work.
mhm,
So I was out with a friend one day along the waterfront. We're sitting down drinking coffee. Next minute, this man with his dog just walks up and he's like, "Scoot over, love." And he sits down. And I was like, "Okay, all right, how are you?" And I was being nice, I was being kind. He just started giving me a message from his guides. And I'll never forget this man because his dog's name was Skittles. And so I feel like somehow, whether it was an angel manifested into human form, I don't know, but he
mhm.
sat down specifically to give me a message from his guides. And that was the most incredible experience I've ever had to date. And so I'm also experiencing spiritual friends coming into my life. There's so much going on in my world that I now know that you don't have to have an NDE in order to have these abilities,
Mhm.
experiences. And so, yeah, my world is definitely changing as well.
And see
Um,
and just like what you had with there was like what the guy where Saint Germain, basically, or the other part came to me again in that physical form there. It's where again, whatever you put your attention upon, you attract. You are a mighty magnet, and the more you focus on these things, and in my case, when I explain to people about the I am presence that within, we are becoming even a stronger magnet where people will reach out to us. They'll again, like they have to stare, or I've had people tell me their whole life story, just come up to me and say, "I got to tell you this. I don't know what it is, but I can approach you." They come to you and they feel your energy and flowing. They're like, "I feel in peace around you." Like there's you. And they say, "I see your light. You are bright." And but the more you put your focus with your I am presence, then you develop that because it develops a momentum. And this is what I talked about, where you felt tired. You're drinking coffees. You're doing anything to keep your daily grind going, but you're losing your energy. You're drinking alcohol or doing other things that over time you don't have the strength. You learn, like for me, when I learned about these I am discourses, I learned how to charge that energy back into me. I
yeah.
learned also ways where I'll just give you an example, like beloved mighty I am presence, I send forth a flame of love from my heart flame to my mighty I am presence above. And all of a sudden, and I'll feel it, it'll kick in, is when you send your love to something greater than you, by the law of life, it has to return to you. But when you send your love to a greater being, to Jesus, to God, to an ascended being, again, they're all connected as one. Because to me, Jesus is the ascended master. When you send this out to them, they radiate their love back to you. And when I tell you about that love I felt on the other side, I feel that love come back into my heart when they send it to me. And sometimes it takes a little bit, other times it takes a long, but all of a sudden I will feel my heart chakras and stuff that start to expand, and the heat will come in, and all of a sudden I'll get that shaky fist, and that pressure will come in. Like I'm like, okay, yes, thank you. But that's how have been recharging myself. And like you see,
Yeah.
I sent you that one picture of me of what you saw me what I looked like before. I mean, you
Yeah,
can
I will post that on
it
this
up.
video.
Yeah,
Yeah.
where you know I've and again without the stuff, I felt that energy come back. I don't have nosebleeds anymore. I don't have this stuff here. The body has more energy than I've ever had. I'm younger. I've lost over 50 more pounds. I actually had in the time when they developed the diabetes stuff, I went up to 311 pounds. I'm back down to 220 pounds, and I'm still dropping. And all these things are coming. People are freaking like my skin is the skin of a 12-year-old. They go, you're like so
Yeah.
small. But I've been showing things of certain things, dietary stuff to take, black seed oil, fulvic acid. I'm showing this stuff, but with this pressure, I feel this, and I have to
Yeah.
research it. And it's like I'm being taken down a road. And when we talk about healers, a true healer is one that we heal through our pain to others. We transmute our our pains and return to someone else. Saying, here, I had to go through this, but this is what I learned to use to heal myself, and thus you can do the same. And so, but again, I always call it to my presence saying, tell me what I need to know, do what I need to see. Do I need to talk to you? I always go to here first,
Yeah.
because and when I do that, everything then aligns. I call it, you can also call it the unfed flame. Beloved, I am presence. I call forth the unfed flame to come forth in the atmosphere around me, direct me, clear my path of all discord, of all human discord, and open up and bring forth perfection in my life. And you just do that consistently, and all of a sudden things just light up. I have it where I can go. I used to hit every red light. Oh God, I could hit every light across the country. I now have literally all come up to light, and the light will turn green. I had to wave my hand, it turns green. I go right through. I have it where 95% of the time I'm always in a green light, and it
So
just happened.
basically, it starts with thoughts, intentions,
Yep.
beliefs, sending out to others, then to receive back.
And it comes back now because
Yeah.
in the I am teachings, whenever people call by prayers, but when how it's taught with prayers, you're coming from a position of lack. But
Yeah, I understand that.
when you do a decree, you come from a position of power, because you do
Mm.
have the presence of God within you. You may have you're an individualized flame of it, but you still have that within you. And when you call that forth with that activity, it just amplifies your energy, and things happen. Like I'll go out and for walks, and I will send, beloved, I am presence. I send forth a flame of love to all of humanity on this earth. Anything I do a decree with, 60% of that energy comes back, boomerangs back to me. So
Yeah.
this is I've been healing my body, bringing forth that energy again back to me. So people ask, well, why aren't you making those organites anymore, those energy things? Because I said I found the source where I do it myself. I was giving away my energy. Now I'm returning it and bringing myself back to health through this. And once I've talked to these other NDErs who are doing the same thing and have worked with it, they're like, yeah, this is what we're learning to recharge. And you feel that love their side. They're like, yeah. And it's like, that's what gives us chills, because like, holy crap, we are like little Jedha Padawans with energy. And, in Star Wars, I think we have learned to use the power, but you have to keep your body centered. If you knew what came out of your mouth and you gave life to
Yes.
human energy, you would wrap yourself up in and put yourself into a insane asylum. You would freak out. You would have you see horror movies. You would think that's nothing, because what you saw come out of your mouth was way worse.
Yeah, it's
And
like a prime example is like the way someone talks to you. Get a friend one day, and this is for the viewers watching as well. This is something that just sort of came to me right now as you were talking. Get a friend and ask them to do this exercise with you. Get this person to talk to you just as you talk to yourself on a daily basis throughout the day. I'm no good. I'm doing a terrible job. I feel ugly today. Nothing fits me. I just can't do it. Get a friend to tell you the exact things you tell yourself, and that will give you the best teachings to understand how you should be talking to yourself.
And yeah, I'll add on to that is, if you are aware of Dr. Himishimoto or thing with the
With the
charge
water?
of water, where if you
Yeah.
how you say love or if you say negative things, how it affects the water crystals. And if we have 8 gallons of water in our bodies, if we say all these negative things, what are we doing to ourselves, and what are we sending
Mm,
out, and what is coming back with amplification? So again,
exactly.
if you're sending these out to everyone, it's better for you to say nothing and actually try and get to not even think about it in your brain. And that's why when I say I call upon that violet consuming flame of Saint Germain,
Yeah.
that cleanses my body, cleanses my aura, and cleans off that stuff, because you don't want it coming in and attaching back to you. And I call upon the law of forgiveness, of the consuming flame of inharmonious action and human consciousness, to forgive all the mistakes I may have made or do make. I will call that out several times a day. And again, I'm just
And that's
releasing my
repetition, you see, and that's another
repetition.
thing.
Yep.
Yeah.
And by you doing that, you're removing that discord. You are removing it, or when you call for that white tube of light, you are creatively in your mind calling forth down a wall of protection around you that blocks that
Mm,
discord. So your day will feel easier. You'll be able to go places. You'll be happier. You will notice things. You'll start to smile, and just things start to click again, because
yeah.
it's that energy coming down from your source through the head into the pineal gland, up, down into all these other top chakras that
Mm,
are affecting things. This again, where we talk about energy and this stuff. It's true. It's all these things happen, and all these old ancient religions slash I forget how you say it, but they talk about this stuff long back ago. If you do this, and there's all these generations or these civilizations that had golden ages prior, way thousands of millions of years around us here on Earth,
mm,
but they gave into the discord, and that's what filled the world. And we are right now, a lot of people are trying to learn to get remove that from themselves and to open their love back to each other. And that's where, a lot of us sent back, we talk about that love. And if we can do anything just to help other more people, well, if I affect you and then you affect other people and other things, we're just spreading our light open, or we become mighty pillars of light. And I walk around
mm,
and say, I am a mighty pillar of light. And you
yeah.
start doing that, you'll noticing that all of a sudden things still start happening more. Things are coming through. People just they'll walk up to you and go and tell a story. And here, I'll give you another example. I was over at this one park. I'll give you actually two.
Yeah, go for it.
So I was in the springtime this last year. Actually, so we're coming on a year now. Again, I was trying to find ways. I had problems with my liver. I had fatty liver going on with my diabetes and partly this, and I was having other issues too with weight. And I had this little girl just walked him up on the path, run up to me, and her father was behind her, and never seen her in my life. She comes up to me and she hands me this dandelion head, the first dandelion of spring that I've seen. And her father's just looking at me and she's like, I'm sorry, it's like this. I'm like, no, this is all right. And I'm like, thank you. You are a sweetheart. Thank you so much for this. And I said, I know there's a reason you had to give this to me. And she went on and she's walked away and said, she turns around and says, my name is Aurora. I am a girl. And then she goes off. And I'm going through the night, and it didn't collect in my brain. Again, I'm just trying to take it in, like, wow, thank you, Divine. Thank you for helping me, this little piece. Great, great. So right before I get in the shower that night, my buddy from Montana, which is a little bit east of me, he sent me the most beautiful picture of the Aurora Borealis. And what is the color? Violet, which is Saint Germain. Well, the funny thing is, so I'm going this, okay, and I'm in the shower, and I start putting together, I'm like, my name is Aurora. I'm like, okay, Aurora Borealis. There's the violet Saint Germain, and she said, I am. And so that all gave me the freak out and the chills. I was just crying in the shower, like, oh my,
Wow.
tears going. That was a sign from Saint Germain, gave me a sign. But through that, I was given this research dandelion root and dandelion, and that helps the bile ducts and stuff get the bile going in your liver. And my doctors in my labs have improved dramatically now because of that, of taking dandelion root. And then, just to give you one other one, the other day, this happened just about a couple weeks ago, is I happened to be walking around the park, and I've seen this couple around for a while, and today it was just the woman and her this big old lab. Well, lo and behold, I didn't find out, this lab came up to me and just came up to me and held and pushed into me. And she was just like amazed, because she's like, this dog doesn't do this with people. But it came right up to me, lo and behold, it was her daughter's. Her daughter died suddenly just a few months ago.
Oh.
And so I always tear up when I talk about this, but
Oh.
so she came to me and she started talking to me about her daughter, and I said, your daughter's with you right now. I mean, I could feel it. And she was just, cheered up, and we were talking about this, and I explained to her I had, my NDE, and I told her my whole NDE experience, and she told me that she had an OB before, so she didn't
Yeah.
really talk to people, but she talked about this. Well, what she didn't tell me before was she had lost her daughter's earrings. The only pair left that she had kept, and so she had one, but she lost the other one. We talked, and then her and I had talked, all about life and death and a bunch of other things. And again, I said, she's with you right now. Like her dog was just pushing up into me and loving me. And, she's like, this doesn't
Oh.
happen. But I knew there was a connection. There's a reason why. And with my light, the animal attracts. But she went into that car, and a couple days later, she came running up to me. And with her and her husband, said, I got to tell you a story. After I got in talking to you, I got into my car, and laying on the napkin in the center console was her earring.
Wow.
So
Oh,
it's like,
that's
holy,
incredible.
which is like, holy shit. It's like, she couldn't get to me. I had to give me the biggest hug, and we touched more and said, I told you, your daughter's with you. We talked about the
Wow.
safety thing, and it's like, okay. So ever since then, of course, that dog comes up to me and everything, but it's stuff like that happens. And I know there's other NDErs out there who have said the same thing, that we affect other people, or we, with the light, but we're all here, but we all can do this. We all have different parts. And when you start opening up that light to other people, and
Yeah.
you stop talking the negative, and you start bringing that light and opening up more, the darkness, the discord just goes away. And when you cleanse yourself, you will have more energy. You will feel youthful again. There's ways to reverse the things that are happening. As much as my body has fought me to want to go back, I can close my eyes right now and I'd be at peace to go. I want, it's like this, and I fight it every day with I've reversed most of my diabetes. I've reversed letting my labs are coming back. My doctor's still freaking like, how are you doing this? And how do you say it again? I'm divinely directed. I am using my love and these peace and these ways of what all these decrees that I do. I mean, these books are right here. I mean, I carry the unveiled mysteries and the discords, all this stuff I will read. And I do an hour a day. I do this. I do a half hour in the morning decrees and a half hour at night. Vinny's saying that when he talks about that stuff, and I listen. So I take a lot of other people's approaches and I implement them into my systems. And again, I've noticed other things even more just by doing that extra time. Other things have happened. More money comes in. I'm not working. Things happen, are taken care of. It's like you've got a blessed life. And I've got buddies that are still resentful because everything just happens for you. But I said,
Yeah.
I turned to God. I put my faith in here. And my wife was telling me, like, how did things happen for you? I said, because I put my faith there, and it happens. And so when
Yeah.
I tell people, if you're having a bad day or you're watching this NDE because you're afraid of death, or you others are part here, I can't tell you the love that's wrapped around you, the angels or everything else that's around you, the the elementals are around you. There's fairies, there's other things, there's orbs out there in the gardens around you. Go to a place of nature. Nature is spirits. And it's where when
Yeah.
you go out there and you breathe that air around the trees, or you put your bare feet on the ground and ground, all these things is a way of love from the creators around you that help hold you in and recharge.
Do you mind
And that's
if
what's
I sort of take you back, not to your NDE, although I do have one other question about your NDE. I might ask that one first. Um, you mentioned colors and rainbows, and I do hear you talking about rainbows a lot. Were there ever any colors that you didn't see here on Earth, that colors that you couldn't describe?
well, there's a lot of colors on the other side you can't describe. I mean, it's just the different hues, the intensity, the vibration, the feeling of it. It's, again, to me, everything has weight. It has texture over there. It's it's like everything is a 10G but beneficial energy coming out from it. That love is
Yeah.
intensity is coming out of it. So the amplification of what you can take in, on that side because there's no filters. You're getting the full blast of God's love or divine source love coming at you at full force versus here where there's so many veils that you
Mm.
can't get through or haven't been open to or may not have a spiritual awakening enough to see it. You're still closed off. And a lot of people who are searching this stuff, some of you may have had an experience that you're using this for, or you are feeling a call to it, and it's going to open up a veil. There's come to a point where all of a sudden it's going to open up.
I wanted to ask you about the portal that you saw. Was it a golden portal?
The rectangle portal. Yeah.
Yeah, so my question about the portal is, do you know where that goes? Did you get any downloads or any knowledge or any information on what it might be for?
Leads up to where through that I can go here to the golden
The Golden City?
the golden city or in other places. It's just, again, it's a guideway, it's a pathway, it's a portal through another dimension part as you go work up higher in these areas. And that's where when I looked at those people down below, again, my job, I'm standing up there on that mountain ledge. I'm on the precipice. And that's where a lot of people these days are worried about World War III, all this stuff going on in the world. And I'm out there. And again, I can appreciate where I go to those places to be calm. Where other people go, those are scared crapless and they're chin their bricks. I go there for my calm, but I'm looking down at all these people or beings and they're doing different things. Some were battling, some were doing stuff. And so to me, when I look at that for future, how this all goes, again, these are all the things that I can reach out to. My energy, my love, and what I affect. And if I can help those other people through my love by helping myself, by sending love to them, I am also help myself. I'm able to raise my vibrational rate, my energies that allow me to go. Because if you hear the phrase, I am the open door that no man can shut. And that's part of the portal. I am. It's a keyhole. It's a key. Is working. And again, to get through these gates, you have to know be at a higher vibration, or have worked with your I am presence enough to allow you to go through these gates. To go there are places where some people, they're on the wheel of reincarnation. And again, I fully know, yes, there's reincarnation, but my job in this lifetime is to get off that wheel.
Yeah. Because so many people believe that we're reincarnated, and some people say that we're reincarnated because we want to come back because we're eternal beings and up there is home and this is like a playground. But then I've also heard other people say that we're stuck on a karmic cycle. What do you think that it is?
A lot of it is learning, but it's also karmic. But the problem is we have developed such intense, when I say human creation, I also mean that it's also like karmic. And it's where when you create the human creation, you develop these layers, all these things where before, when you used to call to your presence and everything was provided to you. But now that you thought you were a higher power than God or other things, and you brought the human into effect to it, and now you started worrying more about money or how much you're making. You see all these people that in their 90s, they still got to be making money. They got to keep doing their things. They're in love with that. They're creating discord. And that's what's causing in their life. And so they're always on they weaken their body. They're, like they said, they drain their body, their life force to a certain point where the body knows God says leave. He's done. Your meat suit drops over to the ground, and then they bury you, and then you got to wait for a certain period of time, be it 100 years, be 5 years. But under my understanding, again, how feeling it is that we have been to a certain point getting where we've been embodying faster and faster coming in. It normally takes, like I said, I was recharging. I was plugged into a place like recharging, but it's where comes to a cosmic point, and it goes into a lot of these teachings with the I am and our parts too, where we come to a point where by universal law, we have used up most of our lives and energies that if we haven't learned to a certain point, yes, energy just transforms, but unfortunately we lose our individuality. We do get used or recycled if you have not done enough. It's called the second death. And that's where you can re-embody it 1,000 times. The universe has given its life force, the energy from the sun, from the great central sun, for these things have come through, giving you all these things, and you've squandered it. You've given it away, that you didn't bring it back. You didn't give love back to others. Service to others is a service to self. And so you've created all this trauma. Unfortunately, it's weighed you down. So you have not cleared your karmic stuff. You have not cleared your human creation by not doing these natural law practices, these law of life practices of cleansing, of calling forth your tube of light, of doing your the violet consuming flame, or doing these the law of forgiveness. You haven't
Yeah.
done these things over time, because it doesn't just happen. You don't just repeat this one thing and say, okay, I'm saved.
Yeah.
If you put your faith to everything, some people, they say in the Christians, again, I'm full blown was Catholic here. It's when you go into this and you put all your thing, well, Jesus is my entire savior. Well, he was also given all these same things and these teachings, but they fortunately, by through human things, they transport things, they move stuff around, and instead of him going, I am the light that lighteth the world that comes in, or every life man comes in, I am. He's calling to God. He's calling to his I am presence. He's not calling and saying I am. But the
Yeah.
same thing we taught is in Jesus and through is, you are doing all these things, but you're still sheep,
Yeah.
because you keep doing stuff for you, and you've done these practices. You haven't
Mm.
gone to esoteric knowledge, and you're going to keep repeating. Well, these people, we're coming to a point, especially with now the age of Aquarius, we've given all these power. There's, if anyone deals with the Schumann resonance, or
Mm.
all these things with the energies coming in, the cosmic light substance that's flowing in from the great central sun is how I say it. All these energies that are coming through, like, where's this energy coming from? The scientists are trying to figure it out. And I just look and going, it's a cosmic light substance from the great central sun. And they don't like, what? But I'm like, if these are powers, they're only coming in at certain times,
And
and
this is what's happening
they're
right
allowing
now.
things to happen now. It's giving us the thing. So if you've looked down or watched the Schumann resonance lately, how that's
Yeah.
just been skyrocketing, and how everything's going off, and how these the Earth or the sun is getting affected right now with these large plasma cosmic ejaculation, or however they say it, coming off.
Mm.
Um, that's affecting the Earth, and the Earth is responding because she's going through her ascension as well. That's
Yeah.
why when you have this energies coming in, that's why we're having all these earthquakes. We're having the volcano effects, all these things. When
Yeah.
that energy is moving around and vortexing, something has to give.
Yeah.
And so, hold for a certain point, but this is where all the ages before us have had cataclysms.
Mm.
Atlantis, Lemuria, all these things, Egypt, all the things that happened in South America. If you go into and we're pulled as as NDEers into knowing this stuff.
Yeah.
But it's the weaker civilizations that have happened 70,000, 100,000 plus years ago that it's not taught in modern day books, that they sunk in the ocean. It's still underneath there. It's still locked up. But what happened was they let the discord happen. And now we're coming on the next golden age. It's right coming for us.
Yeah.
But we have to, again, and this is how I was talking these teachings, and again, it's up to how you interpret them. They always talk about this massive solar flash coming through. But
Yeah.
in the book, it talks about the Elohim, the builders of our system of worlds, mighty Arcturus and Goddess of Liberty. They will do a flash of 1,000 suns that will flash through and do, if America falls, they will do this. So either way, it's going to happen, or we can prevent it as humans who increase our own light. We are called by the cosmic laws of the universe to increase our light. So all these NDEers, myself, or things, we all talk about this, where if we expand our light, our I am present within, which gives that light
Mm.
to us. Or if we just give love out to other people, we are creating that light. We are opening the light up. And the more we do this, we push back on the sinister force, and these ascended masters or cosmic beings are able then to amplify those energies unfold. They cannot do things. People ask, well, why can't these great cosmic beings? Why can't they fix their world? Because this world is the dark planet. This or dark thing, or we are caused so much discord here. We ourselves, by cosmic law, have to clear it ourselves, or
Yeah.
remove a portion of it, that we can give power to these other here beings to call upon their love, that they are allowed to then come in and help us. But it's not them. They can't just snap their fingers and get it done with. They want
Mm.
to, but it's on us. But
Yeah.
again, if we don't keep doing this, we will cause our second death. We will still, our energies, our things where we are, will just transmute to something else. But we will
Yeah.
lose that our own individualized flame. We do the right things, getting us off the karmic wheel. So and I've seen this, and I talked with other Indians, it's felt this or gotten this knowledge from other areas, And we always talk about the same thing. It's like, and this is why we're connected with our brothers and sisters from above. They want us to help us too, and they're giving their love to us to help clear these negative karmic things and help clear the stuff. There's all this light that's coming in the world. If you really got in the universe, there's light everywhere. We just see there's darkness here on Earth, but when you get out in the solar systems or in place, there's light everywhere. But it's
Oh,
our job here as humans on Earth to clear this karma. It clears this stuff. And when you go into these laws of life and when you dive into this, I mean, I'm talking about back chills, like no confirmation chills, like crazy, like going, oh my God, oh my God. And it's like compelling. Like, I do my part. And
yeah,
after it's being in my NDE, I'm like compelled. I have to do this stuff. And I
yeah.
don't think we all have free will, but it's where the free will is, it's a double-edged sword in a way too, that we're called to use it. But if we don't over a period of time, well, it's also our law, it's free will. Well, there's a point where that cosmic law says, well, sorry, you didn't. And you've given thousands of lifetimes in the silence. You know, you took, you used up that energy instead of to the ones that have found their energy, you know, and awakening and do this part. And we're all sort of, a lot of people are just finding every little step. And just maybe by me telling you this stuff, it's going to trigger one or two people just to learn about this. And they start decreeing and calling on their light. And it just spreads that vibration where I raise my energy. It affects you. It now affects how many other people, you know,
Mm,
across the globe who tune into your station. And it's like, okay, you know, that's how many more people. Just like when I did all those organites, you know, I've got probably 200 organites around. All that money I lost in my bank account that I had, but you know, there's all that love that I put elsewhere is out there. But now
mm,
I'm trying to tell people there's other ways to use to charge you from grounding, all these things here, learning about these laws of life, how you affect the universe, but because it all makes sense. Everything you start adding from the esoteric world to, you know, the occult and stuff, the right things, the hidden knowledge that they don't want you to know about, we can
mm.
transmute this world even more and get off that wheel of reincarnation.
Well, look, I just love that I got to connect with you. I think that the light that you're bringing is so needed to today. So, again, I want to thank you from my heart for joining me today, sharing your love, sharing your experience with the viewers watching, and I guess just to ask you if there's a positive note that you can leave before ending this podcast, would you be able to give the viewers something as a takeaway from your experience?
All I can just say is just every day remind you I am surrounded by divine love. If you can just focus on that, just say that how many times a day, a few times a day, I am surrounded by divine love. I am sending love to others. You know, I'm sending love just even to your friends. If you can just do simple things, you can be in the grocery store and say, and I do this all the time. I walk in the grocery store, I send forth a flame of love to everyone in this store. You know, just do
Beautiful.
those little things. You're giving of your life energy to others, someone else. And I
Yeah.
will promise you that 60% of that will return back to you. And you'll be amazed how health wise, peace wise, energy wise will come back into your own life. And things will start happening. They call them simple miracles and also full miracles. They will start developing because you're using the law of life. You're giving of your own life energy to something else. And
Yeah.
especially when you give it to a higher source. I'll go to, it's a nice sunny day out, to say, beloved I am Prince, I send forth the flame of love to the great mighty sun Helios. I mean, to me, it's a being up above there that's giving its own life energy to us for us to have food and for the plants and everything else. But by giving my love to it, it gives its love back. And I'll tell you, it sends some love back to you. Holy cow. I will feel a sense in my heart when I do it. But just if you do that over time, you'll be amazed. If you just sit back in this kind of room of like meditation, or if anyone's into that, and you just send that love to some places, just settle and wait till if you feel any love coming back into your heart. You'll feel like a thump thump thump, or you'll feel a beating or a heart or pressure, and you
Mm,
go, it's real. You'll feel that love come into you. And so that's why I said everything is love. Everything we talked about here right now and what I shared, even though sometimes it was painful and people understand, and I appreciate all your prayers and thanks you for all those that called, you know, for my healing. I'm grateful already ahead of time to say that
mm.
everything is love. And if you can focus on that, you're golden.
Oh, well, thank you again so much for joining me on the podcast today. And I look forward to hearing from you in the future with all your new learnings and all your discoveries from all your reading. And I'd love to get in touch with you again in the future.
Sounds like a plan, Natalie.